I am here today presenting common Salesforce problems and solutions. Welcome to the High Tech Pro webinar. So if you would turn the page, please. I have a page turner, and in a minute, I'm Danielle, and Niraj is here presenting with me today as well.
Good afternoon, everyone.
You want to take a minute? So Niraj, I'm sorry, wants to say hello also?
Yeah, hi everyone.
So welcome everybody, and thank you for joining us today. So today we're going to talk a bit about common problems in Salesforce for nonprofits, and we're going to start by just taking a look at the landscape of nonprofits, and some of the areas that a lot of nonprofits have in common are that many of you probably have grant management. You do have reporting and compliance regulations that you're working with, and paperwork, of course, that goes with that. And some major areas that your staff are probably involved in are donor management, volunteer management, and marketing. So that's just a bird's eye view of the organizational structure. And as we go down to the next slide, this is going to be what we look at as we go through the webinar today. We will talk to you about how High Tech Pro can bring value to the budget that you have for your data, about time and complexity, about the reporting and compliance, and security and data protection. So when we're looking at how much does it cost to bring managed services to your organization, when you look at that, what is it you're looking at? You're looking at maybe comparing a single Salesforce admin against and the cost of that, which would be one person, maybe at $100,000 a year, versus our team of experts. When we work with you, you have software architects, developers, integrators, and really expertise all across the spectrum in making sure that your whether it is your workflow or whatever it is that you're having done, we have the expertise to bring it in and get that project done with all the different expertise that's required. So sometimes when you're working with Salesforce in your organization, if you have one full-time person, that person's going to have limited knowledge. They're going to possibly have problems with integration. These are ongoing things. Salesforce is always upgrading their services. All the peripheral plugins need upgrading also, especially when Salesforce is upgrading their services. So to stay current on your software, you need to keep integrating and keep current with what's out there. We have a whole team of people who can do that for you for less than one person on your staff. Niraj, did you want to talk about that at all, or yeah, go to the next slide?
I think in the next few slides we will understand more about how much value our team of experts can add to your organization. So if we talk about complexity, Salesforce itself is not a complex CRM. It's basically the other party systems that revolve around Salesforce, which complicate things, right? So, as we all know, that Salesforce is not the only system that you might be using in your org, and by working with various non-profits and other organizations, we have realized that there are other third-party systems that they are using and that they want to integrate with Salesforce. That actually makes the things complex. So it may be that you may be running a marketing campaign and you want to integrate your Salesforce with the mail tool that you're using. So it may be a Gmail or an Outlook tool, or you're using a financial accounting system of your own, which you want to integrate with Salesforce, and that can be QuickBooks or Sage. And that is where the complexity lies, because uh, the skilled resource that you have may not have the expertise to integrate these third party systems with Salesforce. Similarly, as we know that Salesforce do provides at least 2 or 3 upgrades every year. Uh, so for a sales administrator, right, it is quite difficult to move to newer versions of Salesforce just by himself. He would require assistance in doing that. Uh, in our experience, we have realized that there are certain things which Salesforce does not provide as an out of the box feature, and that is where the Salesforce administrators or the Salesforce team struggles with, and that is where we fit in well, right? Because we are an expert in writing a lot of custom code, and we exactly know uh, how to customize the code and what all settings are there in Salesforce. So if you have a small problem, right, which you are struggling with, our team of experts or our consultants can provide you maybe some hours of consultancy, and to get that things resolved. And in past, that has helped our clients a lot, where they were stuck in some issues, which were some minor issues, because they were not aware what settings needs to be done in Salesforce, or what how to write custom code, and we have actually helped them with our consultant services, and moved on.
So, Niraj, do you find that most clients ultimately want custom code?
It actually depends. Generally, what we try to do is find an out of box feature from Salesforce instead of writing custom code, because the problem with writing custom code is that when you actually migrate to a newer version of Salesforce, you have to first look into what all custom code you have written and then migrate it. So sometimes, really, what happens is the orgs are not aware about the out of the box features as well of Salesforce. So they think that that feature is not available in Salesforce due to lack of knowledge, and that is where we provide consultancy and tell them like this is something which you can do out of the box. So we prefer not writing custom code, but if it is really essential in writing a custom code, we suggest that as well.
Okay, thank you.
So moving on, the greatest and the most challenging thing that we have noticed with all the non-profits that we have been working with is reporting. And there are like some 3 or 4 problems that we have gained out of our experience working with all these orgs. And these are 3 common issues that we have found that they struggle with. Now, first of them is most of the information that is there in Salesforce about their customer is missing. So there is missing data around a customer status, which may be in pipeline. Now, if you have missing data for your customer, you cannot do your forecasting very accurately, and that is where you start losing your opportunities. So it's always better to have a kind of auto dialer. Dialer, when I say auto dialer, is an email system that directly integrates with your Salesforce. Now it can be a telephony system or Ring DNA, whichever do you want to use, and that actually helps a lot because that helps you find missing information about your customer when you need it. Second is about difficulty in finding information. So the sales team generally struggles to find information they exactly need when it is needed. So, and that is because of poor data management. So, when I say poor data management, uh, I mean that the data is not managed properly, and the sales representatives do not know how to extract that data, and they find the system too complicated. And this actually leads to waste of time, waste of opportunities, frustration, plus dissatisfied customers. So I will give you an example. We had this same problem with one of our customers, and what we did was we did a very simple exercise. We had our business analysts and our Salesforce consultants had a session with their sales team, and what we did in this session was just understand from the sales team which data points they require very often or what they are searching for. And we mapped all those data points and we created customized reports in their dashboard which actually catered to those points. So what it did was it actually created certain kind of customized reports in the dashboard which the sales team was frequently using, and they were instantly able to get data out of it. So it's not the Salesforce which has a problem in reporting, because Salesforce has too many reports, right? You can pull out any kind of report in Salesforce with the data you have, but it actually depends how you manage your data in Salesforce. Uh,
So, for the typical administrator, so if an organization already has an admin there working Neeraj, can you talk a little bit about why it might be difficult for them to pull the reports out and how we can help with that?
Oh, sure. So what happens is, I'll give you an example. Uh, Now the problem is the context of the data is missing. When I say context of data is something which relates your data to other sources of information. For example, if we talk about a Salesforce administrator, what he can do is he can run a report in Salesforce which tells you or gives you a number of closed deals in a month, won or lost, right? But
Hmm.
how does that help you? Unless you link that data with your marketing data, you will never know where those deals came from, or how long a sales executive or a sales representative spent his time in marketing that data. So that data is pretty much useless for the senior management or any other stuff unless you link that Salesforce data with your marketing data. Now, you need to know which marketing sources are giving you best leads, because based on that only you can actually suggest which sources to keep and which sources to get rid of. But if you don't have that data alignment and analysis in place, the data or the report that you are getting from the Salesforce administrator, which is like number of closed deals in a month, that is actually useless for you. So as a broader picture, what you should do is you need some kind of data visualization tool like Pentaho or Wave Analytics, which actually help you visually see your data from different sources. So maybe you need a tool which links your data from sales and marketing or from sales and customer size service to actually see how leads have matured and what is working for you, what is not working for you. And
Okay.
that is where the Salesforce administrator struggles, because he can pull vanilla reports out of Salesforce. But if you talk about any kind of data visualization tool which needs to be integrated with Salesforce, he would struggle with that. A simple
Okay.
example,
So,
yeah, sure.
right. So this wave analytics really applies to most organizations in the nonprofit world.
Yeah, so Wave Analytics, I told you, is again a data visualization tool where it actually integrates your Salesforce with other data sources. So it enables. data access from different sources which are integrated with your Salesforce. So your data may be coming from some Excel sheets or from any other Sage or maybe your QuickBook or your NetSuite. So what it does is it provides you a complete view of uh, how those data are linked and provides some very useful reports. Maybe with one of our with one of our clients, what we did was we produced a report which actually uh, told the senior management about the performance of each of the sales representative by calculating on how many leads he has closed, what all opportunities he was working with, how he got the data from marketing, and all that stuff. So that was only possible through Wave Analytics, and it actually helped them a lot in visualizing the data.
Okay. Thank you, Neeraj.
Uh, and I think the second thing, which which is quite challenging now, is about the data compliance with all these new GDPR compliance in place. Organizations are really struggling on how to make their system compliant because when you have multiple data sources aligned to your Salesforce or to your organization, you need to have a centralized storage of data so that the data is not scattered and you can actually provide a central data to all your customers. Because as a rule, you have, as a law, not a rule, as a law, you have to have a central storage of database so that you can pull out any customer data from anywhere, maybe within 15 days or within 7 days, whenever he requires that. And that can only happen if your data is managed properly. And
So many people have legacy systems where they might have pieces of software in different places, but for data compliance, it all needs to be centralized.
yes, data needs compliance needs to be centralized, because if the data is stored in multiple sources, uh, it can cause duplicacy of data. So you may have one record for a customer in one source, right? And you have another copy of it in another system. And since the data is lying in two sources and you are not actually syncing those data frequently, so it may lead to mismatch in records. So in one system, the date of birth might be different, in another system, it may be different. And that actually leads to data breach or maybe mismatch of data and inaccurate information, which is actually against many compliances. So you have to be data compliant. And the other thing I think which is very very important is to audit your system. Auditing means providing information about how your system is being used, which is very very essential, because unless you know who is accessing your system, why are they accessing it, it is very lethal. Though Salesforce provides a lot of auditing features, and they are like built-in features in Salesforce, but you actually need someone to check whether those audit processes are being followed or not, whether the login history given by Salesforce someone is monitoring or not, whether the auditing has been enabled on all the fields or not. Because if you're not auditing your system, your data is at risk, and your security is at risk. So moving on uh, to security and data protection, continuing from the previous stuff, security is very very essential for all your apps, because most of your sensitive data that you have for your customers, you are storing it in cloud. And if you're storing that in cloud, then security and compliance also become complex, because everything is in the cloud. You are not having a dedicated server where you are storing everything. So the first question I think you need to ask your Salesforce administrator, and is a valid question to ask, is how is your Salesforce org secure? Are there any security mechanisms in place which is actually securing your system? Salesforce provide a built-in tool called Salesforce Shield, which you can very easily install in your org. It requires some kind of implementation. It provides enhanced protection, monitoring, and retention of your critical data, which is stored in Salesforce. But the basic question is that whether your Salesforce administrator is actually aware on the Salesforce Shield, or is he capable enough to implement that. Now,
So, Niraj, are most administrators adept at installing Salesforce Shield?
no, most of them are not, because it's something which has come up as new in Salesforce. And as we have discussed in previous slides as well, there are very new features that come up in Salesforce. There are a lot of upgrades that happen in Salesforce, which you can only do if you have a pool of resources who exactly know how to upgrade your system, right? How to upgrade your existing code, and how to integrate your new features with the Salesforce. It's not
So
a
even if you were an organization and your Salesforce is working great and you have an admin who is really good at doing admin, then you would still want managed services to make sure that your cybersecurity and your data protection is in place.
Sure, correct. Because Salesforce administrator is not a security expert. He is someone who is actually responsible for maintaining your day-to-day activities in your Salesforce org. So he may be responsible for running some batch processes, syncing of data, adding some users, deleting some users, and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to security, you actually need some kind of security experts or consultants who can actually tell where the security lapses are. Whether Salesforce Shield is something that will protect your data, and what does actually Salesforce Shield do, right? Because Salesforce Shield does three things, right? It encrypts your sensitive data by doing platform encryption. Now, this encrypted data can be PII, which is the personally identifiable information, credit card information. For health companies, it can be PHI, the protected health information, such as the health history or your social security number, or maybe treatment records. Because as per HIPAA compliance, right, all these data cannot be shared with anyone else. So it actually depends on how you want to secure your system. So encryption and data protection is something which Salesforce Shield provides, but you continuously need to monitor your data as well. And for that, you need some kind of monitoring tool in your org which continuously monitors your user behavior, right? And protecting the data loss. So there is something called event monitoring in Salesforce Shield, which gives you access to detailed performance, security, and users data on all your Salesforce apps. So you can always monitor your critical data. You can also understand how your system is getting adopted, right? How the users are adopting your apps or system that you are using. So I think in terms of security, you should ask maybe following questions, right? You should know, like, you should have an answer of who is viewing your sensitive data. You should have an answer to that. Do you know whether your sensitive data is being viewed by whom, right? You should know who is viewing it. Second is, what devices and platforms are being used to access your org. Uh, which users are logging in, when do they log in, for how long they are logging in. So all that information is very important for your org. Unless otherwise, it's prone to data theft, it's prone to data breach, and all kind of threats, security threats. So I think these are the common problems that I think we have experienced with all of our customers. These are very very basic problems, and the users are actually running short of skills because they don't know how to get over these problems. First, because they have limited skills. Obviously, budget is one of the problems. Then, complexity is something which prevents them from moving to any other upgrades or writing any custom code. And then they are not able to have a proper reporting system in place. Compliance and security always poses a threat to their system. So I think we need, and that is where we help, right? Because as Daniel also told, right, we have a team of experts who can actually help you with all of this. We have security experts who can help you with your data protection security. We have people who can actually help you with your reporting and compliance stuff, help you with writing customized code, help you with your migration. So it's like one shop with all these skills where you get, and that too within your budget. Over to you, Daniel.
Um, so if you we see right here the top Salesforce apps for nonprofits, and um, we can integrate with Eva, which is Event Virtual Assistant. It's a top Salesforce app for event management, with Foundation apps for charity and auction management. DonorBox is a app some of you might be familiar with and might be using now. LMS, there are a number of different LMS out there that we integrate with these as well. And I mean, really across the board, whether it's an event app with the surveys and polls and Fundly, those are some of the top ones that you may be have in your system and want though to integrate that data from all these different places. And you're going to want to have a centralized data point, as Niraj was talking about, but also make it easier on all of your end users to populate their forms if they're already a member, that they don't have to attend an event, and also put in their information when they want to make a donation. So there are customizations available that we can do to really simplify the tasks for the people who frequent your website. So there are apps out there that are already made, and we can help you install to use directly with Salesforce, or we also can do that customization so to integrate your existing apps with the Salesforce implementation there. So these are just examples of some of the ones that we have done more recently. There are many, many other apps out there, and we're gonna help you get to where you want to go, no matter what you're using right now. We'll be able to have everyone on board. Again, we have the architects, the developers. So whatever your particular challenge is at the moment, even if it is merely to do a analysis and evaluate where you are right now and how we can keep you running smoothly. So anything from the most complex problems to the everyday running of your Salesforce, we want to be able to help you with that. So I want to turn it over now, maybe to some questions and answers. Are there any questions at the moment from our listeners? Okay, I don't hear one, so I know I have a couple that I wanted to ask you, Niraj. I first am wondering, what you presented, is that true? Are all the things that you just said about security and value and budget and all the different things we just talked about, is that true whichever cloud our listeners might be on, whether they're on Marketing Cloud or Sales Cloud or Nonprofit Cloud?
Yes, that is true because whether whatever cloud it is, whether it's Sales Cloud or Service Cloud or Marketing Cloud, security is at risk because you are actually storing all your sensitive data in the cloud. So when you are storing sensitive data in the cloud, obviously you have to take care of it, and you have to monitor the data. And this sensitive data is like personal identification of a user, or a health customer, or a banking customer which has a credit card information, is wealth information. So it has to be secure. So all these things, and these are things which we have actually learned by working with different partners. We are coming up with this problem with I think with almost 99% or almost 100% of everyone that we have talked about. And these are the grave problems that our team has identified based on all our partners that we have worked with.
So can you talk a little bit about what your process is? If you get someone who knows they need some help, they're not sure where to go, they come to you and say, "Hi Tech Pro, I can see you have this team of experts. I think I need your help, but I don't know where I'm even going to start." What would High Tech Pro's approach be to help that customer?
So, see, every customer when they come, right, they exactly don't know maybe a solution to their problem, or they exactly don't know whether how we can help them, and they don't want to get into bigger contracts or bigger deals. So, how we help them is by providing consultancy to them. So, our consultant experts, right, they have good domain knowledge, whether it's health cloud or whether it's analytics cloud or it's sales cloud or service cloud. They are experts in that, and they actually talk to the customer and try to understand the problem. Like I said in reporting, we identified that the sales team were struggling to get reports, and our experts actually talked to their sales team, had a session with them, and what they realized was uh, that the data points that they needed more often was something that reports should produce. And we got all those data points mapped and provided a quick solution to them by providing some customized reports and dashboard, and that worked. So that is how we cater to the needs of the customer depending on what their problem is.
All right. So we have, I think, covered what we planned to today. I'm going to open it up once more if we have any questions from out there. And I see everybody's questions have been answered. I think that speaks to the thorough job that we have done, Neeraj. If anybody wants to contact me, my information is up on the screen right now, Danielle at hightechpro.com, or my cell phone number is 301-775-6782. And we thank you all for joining us here today.
Yeah. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you, everybody.